You're watching Drakewing Gaming. Enjoy the video.
Hey guys and gals, Never here from Drakewing Gaming. A 70 bounce Twitter the Gaming Drag today. I'm coming back at you with a Let's Play episode of Repeat, Sissel's Path. So let's go ahead and jump right back into it, shall we? Alarm chain, you were up, and let's go. October 6th. Yeah, let's do that. Okay. Alrighty. Huh. You never know. That old man sees everything. He's been doing this for a small century, so his opinion carries a lot of weight with the other judges. Usually, whoever he rates highly ends up winning the competition. His last name is a flatbread. I have no respect for this man. He probably judged the tournaments when you and Sissel's mom competed, right? What's his vibe like? Herschel swallowed nervously. Well, I was found to be kind of scary, but he was always very fair. Cecilia thought he was a massive prick, though. When he asked her to stop waving her knife at the other contestants, to be fair, they'd been harassing her the entire time, she started cussing him out and told him to go fuck himself on live TV. She did? Yeah, my sister wasn't a very patient lady in her youth. But she still won? Herschel shrugged. Like I said, old Bartholomew is very fair. But you're gonna need to grow a spine if you face him, or he just won't respect you. Judge Bartholomew Focaccia approached Sissel's table with slow, casual steps, but his face held the air of stern appraisal. He slowed to a stop, his eyes fixed on Sissel's name card. Sissel stared back, unamused. Was this guy trying to intimidate him? He wasn't doing a very good job. Being Mrs. Corliss' class had kind of inoculated him against scary old people. Can I help you? Bradley. Now where have I heard that name before? Probably the news. It's the lake where those two loan shark assholes drowned last week. A wave of scandalized gasps washed the stadium. Sissel blinked, suddenly remembering the live microphone pinned to his collar. Oh, sorry, am I going to get a deduction for that? The judge's mustache bristled on his expressionless face. This is live television, young man. You will need to compose yourself better than that if you expect to win. Sissel scowled and crossed his arms stubbornly. Well, good thing we're being judged on the quality of our food instead of our social graces. Or anything else. What was the point of your original question? The two stared at each other for several long moments, neither relenting. Finally, the judge tilted his head as he scanned Sissel up and down with an appraising look. Straight to the point, then. I came to ask if the rumors are true. Maybe I should do more of that. I came to ask if the rumors are true, that you really are the son of Cecilia Bradley. Yeah, only found out recently, though. I see. In that case, the other judges are expecting great things from you, Sissel Bradley. But not you, though? The judge shot him a sharp look. Culinary skills are not hereditary. My judgment will be based solely on your performance today and nothing else. Sissel glared. You better. Judge Bartholomew raised a brow, slightly taken aback. That apparently was not the response he had expected. You have your mother's spine, I'll grant you that. With a barely noticeable smile, he returns to the judge's table. Sissel sucked in a deep breath and held his head slightly higher. That felt like an odd test. He wasn't sure if he passed or not. He felt the gaze of the other contestants watching him from their own tables, seething from the extra attention he was getting. This was going to be a strange tournament. Might it be an unreal tournament? The stage lights flared to life and obnoxious music shook through the speakers as the host began introducing all the contestants and judges. I wondered if Sissel could see us waving in the crowd through that glare. Now that everyone's acquainted, let's get down to business and lay down the tasks for tonight. As you all know, every year's culinary challenge is picked without the participants' knowledge or force them to adapt and think on their feet. This year's task is fairly simple, but contains a great amount of nuance that will truly put their skills to the test. The challenge? Bake a set of gourmet cupcakes in accordance to a chosen theme. I glanced at Herschel with a curious look. Gourmet cupcakes? That's just regular cupcakes but a bit fancier, right? Basically, although the good ones tend to have more complex fillings and toppings. Your regular old supermarket cupcakes ain't gonna fly here. We used to sell them back at the cafe, but stopped since it got kinda time-consuming to decorate every little one. Herschel grinned. But Sis has made them dozens of times before, and he should have this in the bag. I should ask him for some samples afterwards. My mouth watered slightly. Just a little. Say, what do the judges do with the food after the tournament's over? Do the contestants get to keep them? Nah, usually whatever isn't eaten by the judges gets taken away for photography and stuff. Aw, the contestants don't even get to eat their own creations? What's even the point? You're just mad because you won't get a chance to munch on Sissel's winnings. Guilty as charged. We turned our attention back to the stage where the host was currently explaining the rules. The contestants' creations will be judged on the following criteria: theming, taste, presentation, originality, and execution. Each category consists of 10 points with a maximum of 50 points possible. Contestants will be required to bake a 12-piece set of gourmet cupcakes by the end of the allotted 2 hours. Everyone will be provided with a standard set of ingredients. However, individuals may choose to purchase additional, more specialized ingredients out of their own pockets. Ginny's brows furrowed. Doesn't that give an unfair advantage to folks with more money? Oh, absolutely. The tournament always spins it as we're adding an unknown variable to the competition to spice things up. We all know it's because they're desperate for extra funding. This is what my sister cussed them out about on live TV. Herschel scratched his head and sighed. That being said, more expensive ingredients don't always mean better results. My sister managed to win without any fancy purchases, but she was still pissed about it. Back on stage, the host continued rambling the tournament rules. And finally, the theme for this year's tournament is love. A bit of a cheesy theme, don't you think? Aw, it's a classic though, and it's a good excuse to add a bunch of chocolate to your entry. All the contestants were handed a small tablet to order their additional ingredients. Most of the richer contestants, including the mouthy, foppish one from earlier, eagerly tapped away at their screen and checked off a long list of expensive items. Sissel shuffled uncomfortably as he stared at his tablet. He was clearly having second thoughts about ordering additional stuff. The cafe wasn't exactly doing well these days, and his own wallet was a bit light. Take now, water time. He was clearly having second thoughts about ordering additional... Oh, blah, 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 already did that. Owen suddenly leaned over the railing in the audience and let out a booming shout. Get whatever you need, Sissel! I've got your back! Sissel glanced up, startled. He looked like he wanted to argue, but stopped himself. After a moment, Sissel smiled and nodded gratefully before tapping away at his tablet with renewed vigor. After orders were taken, the contest organizers began rolling out carts of specialized ingredients to each contestant's table. It looked like Sissel had ordered a large tank of culinary freeze spray along with a hefty amount of chocolate, much to my delight. You know you won't get to eat any of that, right? My joy immediately deflated as I bitterly wiped the drool from my lips. A man can dream! The other contestants seemed to have their own ideas, their tables filled with an assortment of mints, colorful powders, and exotic spices. One even ordered an excessive amount of what looked like real gold and silver. That must have cost a pretty penny. Does gold even taste like anything? No, not really. It doesn't. I've had gold. It's just a stupid thing to eat. I've had it a few times for my mom's birthday. It's got a funky texture, but it doesn't really have a taste, honestly. It's mostly there for decoration. The host enthusiastically pointed at the big screen, which now showed a 2-hour countdown. Is everyone in position? Because this year's National Culinary Competition is about to get started. On your marks, get set, begin! The stage was a flurry of activities. All the contestants rushed right into their work in what could only be described as a culinary panic. In contrast, Sissel was fairly calm and collected. His brows furrowed in concentration as he measured out cups of flour and dunked them into his mixer. It seemed he had a solid plan in mind at the very least. Most of the other contestants seemed to be flying by the seat of their pants and making things up as they went. To my dismay, the foppish contestant from earlier wore a confident smirk while he slowly sprinkled mint into his mixer. I tore my eyes away from the action and poked at Herschel. What do you think he's making? Cupcakes! Wow, very insightful. Herschel laughed and shrugged. It's a little hard to tell at this point. It's a little hard to tell at this point, but it's obvious that chocolate is the main base of his idea. See that big tank of culinary freeze spray? He's probably planning to use that to quickly cool his chocolate into thin, decorative pieces for his cakes. Oh, kind of like his white chocolate sculpture back at the local competition? Herschel shook his head thoughtfully. Not quite. That sculpture wasn't meant to be eaten, so it was more of a visual spectacle. You can't do the same here, because, well, I'm sure you like chocolate. Having a huge, solid chunk of it in your cake is a bit hard to eat and kind of fucks up your flavor profile. If you want your chocolate to flow with the rest of your cake flavor-wise, most strats go with making it more liquidy and turn it into extremely thin pieces so that it melts in your mouth along with the rest of the ingredients. The thinner the better. Adrian, you're drooling again. Oh, sorry. It's just melty chocolate, you know? That's just the thing, yeah? Thin pieces of chocolate melt very easily, even when you're handling it with your hands. Even with constant usage of the freeze spray, you got to be real careful or one piece will melt into another, and suddenly there's a solid glob of chocolate in the middle of the light and flaky part of your cake. Sissel's a skilled kid, but he's gonna need to play real careful here. I turned my gaze back towards the stage, where Sissel was carefully dragging his knife across a block of chocolate as though peeling an apple and shaving off the thinnest flakes off the surface. Pressed too hard, and the mere friction of the knife made the thin flakes melt. He frequently halted his work to give the chocolate another quick spritz of freezing spray before continuing. In the background, his mixer whirled to a halt as whatever batter he was making was complete. Sissel was quick to switch gears, pouring his batter into cupcake tins and shoving it into a preheated oven before returning to his chocolate crafting. I glanced at the clock. He still had a solid hour and a half to spare. Things were proceeding smoothly and ahead of schedule. My knuckles turned pale as I nervously gripped the railing in front of me, my eyes fixed on Sissel as he worked. He should be fine, right? Time slowly passed, and by the time his batter was done baking, Sissel had made good progress on his frosting and chocolate ganache. He quickly popped his cupcake tins out of the oven to cool and experimentally popped one of the extras into his mouth for his taste test. He immediately froze. Sissel's eyes widened in confusion before spitting it back out. That can't be right! He took another cautious bite out of another cupcake base. It was also spat as panic spread across his face. That texture, something's not right! Sissel began furiously digging through his ingredients drawer, tossing bags left and right until he finally found his culprit. He dragged a large bag onto his tabletop and gave it an inquisitive sniff while he sifted the white powder through his fingertips. Host, this isn't cake flour, it's almond flour. All the other bags of flour in my drawers are also just almond flour, no matter the label. Did you guys fuck something up or what? At that point, the other contestants exchanged nervous glances and also fumbled through their ingredients to check, and sure enough, they all returned with panicked looks. Was it another sabotage attempt? I peered across the stage and my eyes narrowed. The foppish contestant from earlier seemed rather calm about the situation. No, he was absolutely glowing and smug. That rich contestant with all the gold foil also looked rather unbothered. Those little fuckers are gonna pay. The judges apparently thought differently. When the host rushed to the judges' table to report the sabotage, they simply nodded in motion for the tournament to continue, completely unbothered. What? That's ridiculous! Why would they put a stop to the tournament if there's someone messing with the ingredients? Herschel sighed, scratching his head tiredly. The tournament has always been a bit of cutthroat. Contestants are always trying underhanded tactics to stab each other in the back. It's practically an unofficial tradition at this point. So they're just gonna let it happen? It'd be real expensive to halt the tournament now. I think they spin it to those who thrive in adversity and the strife, or where true talent lies, or some bullshit like that. Except for the ones creating the adversity and strife, I guess. You think Sissel's gonna be alright? What's so bad about almond flour? Nothing wrong with it specifically. It's just about using the right tool for the right job. Almond flour is pretty much no starch or gluten, basically no binding agents. And because of the low starch, it doesn't really hold moisture or stabilize things the way cake flour would. Not to mention, it kind of fucks up the texture if you're not building your recipe around it. You can still make something edible out of it, but it sure ain't gonna be competition worthy if you weren't expecting it. Most of these contestants are gonna have to scrap what they made and redo their recipe, not to mention scramble to find other binding agents to add to their cakes. That eats up more time, creates panic, and leads to more mistakes. It's definitely a more subtle kind of sabotage compared to those shits at the local competition. I chewed on my lips nervously as I watched Sissel rush about his table, frantically digging through the ingredients he had left for a solution. Was he going to be okay? For a second, our eyes met. Sissel caught sight of my anxious gaze, and his face suddenly melted into a fond smirk. He flourished his hands in an exaggerated remember-to-breathe motion. Or maybe it was a calm down twat, I'll be fine. It was a little hard to tell in the distance. Dumbass, you're still on live TV. But I'm still your dumbass twat. As the contest coordinators let out a wave of scandalized gasps and tried to bleep his outburst, Sissel sucked in a breath and stared down at his table. He stood silent and unmoving for several long moments, his brows furrowed deep in thought. What could he use to fix the situation? The sabotage attempt wasn't as disastrous as back in the regionals, and he aced that one fairly easily. Surely there was a way to outsmart this one as well. Suddenly, his head snapped up in sudden realization. Sissel frantically fumbled through his uniform's pockets and dug out 2 heavily bruised sweet potatoes. The crowd leaned forward, utterly baffled, as Sissel began peeling the spuds and prepping a large pot of boiled water. What a strange turn of events, folks! It appears that contestant Sissel Bradley is preparing to make a large serving of mashed potatoes? I hope he hasn't forgotten that this is a baking competition. Beside me, Herschel blinked and sat up straighter. Oh! That just might work. You want to share with the rest of the class? Sweet potatoes will provide the extra starch that he needs, and adding a few extra eggs will give him the binding agents and protein that almond flour lacks. Yeah, this just might actually work. Sissel's face burned with renewed determination as he began to quickly measure out a new mixture for his batter. The air slowly filled with the savory sweet scent of sweet potatoes as he mashed them aggressively in a bowl before scooping small spoonfuls into his mixer. Before long, he had another set of cupcake tins heating up in the oven while he returned to prepping his chocolate. The foppish contestant exchanged nervous glances with the rich one, slightly baffled by the complete lack of worry coming from Sissel Bradley. Alright, y'all, I'm actually going to pause it right there. Thank y'all so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, ring that notification bell, and check out our Patreon if you can. It always helps. Before I go, I'm going to give a quick shout-out to our lovely bronze tier patrons. Thank y'all for all I do for the channel. We greatly appreciate your support. Thank you to our silver tier patron, Cade Silverman. Thank you going a bit above and beyond. It's greatly appreciated. Thanks to our 3 gold tier patrons, Zeke, Toby, and Blue Wolf Alpha. Y'all are awesome. We love you. Thank you for subbing to Ultimate Tier. Anyway, if y'all want to get your names in the credits, get access to our however, not safe for work content is as little as $5. And also, y'all can donate to us on the using Super Thanks on YouTube. That also helps. Anyway, I love you all, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye-bye!